Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Mark Gassert, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Mark's message. Yes, that's right. It is the peachiest place on the planet, right here. 5 peach rating. And tonight we have a very, very special guest, Christopher Rausch. This gentleman to me is a journey, not a destination. And real quick, I'm going to get into his bio. Christopher Rausch is debatably the world's most effective, impactful, unstoppable, no excuses coach, speaker, workshop facilitator, retreat leader whose life apprenticeship of victim to victor is nothing short of miraculous and surely inspiring. Here's something Chris lives by. I help people overcome their self-created crap without the self-help, fluffy bullshit. Now, Ross shares his unforgettable story and proven strategies through his proprietary education entitled, and we're going to get into this tonight, Kick Ass Guide to Life, as a complete guide to living and leading the best kick ass life possible. Believe it or not, Chris holds a master's degree in organizational management. And that's kind of helped him facilitate things 3 decades to partner 21st century industry leaders, teams, individuals, heightened levels of performance. And he's earned the reputation for straight talk, no bullshit delivery, and a no excuse philosophy has become a passionate and outspoken advocate for living life and leading a kick ass life, which is tremendous for Chris. And I can't wait for him to share his story very quickly. He lives in Riverside, California, and is married to the love of his life, Barbara, and his son, Jackson. Love that name, Action Jackson, who is one of his biggest teachers in life. Man, if you're ready to become unstoppable and live and lead a kick ass life personally and professionally with no excuses, let's bring him on, man. Let's bring on Chris Rausch. We need to get this man on here to tell the story. Chris, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, Mark? It's good to see you, man. It's good to be on the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Welcome to Peachtree Corners. Did they treat you okay in the green room? I know I'm grassroots. We didn't even have water back there. I see you brought your own.
Yes, I did. But the accommodations are awesome. The green room was spectacular, and Tom Cruise was really gracious.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing to hear. Well, Chris, I got to ask you something here before we delve into you. When I said you're a journey, not a destination, you're raw and unscripted. Talk to me just real briefly about your Friday Night Live, you and Scott. How did you guys hook up and do that? Just curious.
Wow, Mark, again, thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Friday Night Live, that was something that came out of what started for COVID. It was something that really started from Ken and Glenn. I mean, it was something that crazy enough. And I talk to people all the time about showing up. If you get invited to something, show up, participate in it. And Glenn Morshower had sent me a link. And it was this link, and I was just like, what is this? He didn't say anything with it. And so I just was like, if Glenn sends me a link, I'm going to go there. I'm going to show up. And I show up, and literally it was Joe Ingram and Bill Banashek were in this Zoom room, and they were talking. And I felt like I barged into their living room, and I'm like, hey guys. And they're like looking at me like, who is this guy? And I said, hey, Glenn Morshower sent me a link. And he's like, okay. He goes, oh, it must be for this show we're going to do. And I'm like, all right, figured it out. Long story short, we started doing these COVID shows just to help people stay inspired, stay lifted up during the beginning part of this, especially when we were in lockdown. And it was just a way for us to bring positivity and light during dark times. And through that process, of course, Ken and Glenn were able to start their show, the Ken and Glenn Show, with a guy named Scott. And so I was like, okay, I kind of like doing this. This is actually really fun. I already had my podcast, Raw and Unscripted, going. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to keep this going. So I think I started doing it, and I started having like guest co-hosts, and I wasn't really sure I was going to do a co-host thing. And then Scott hit me up. We're both on the same network. We're both on the Speaking of the Heart podcast network, our shows. And he I was just like, he goes, I thought I wanted to check out some of the other hosts, and I saw that you were live one day. And then we just started talking, and I brought him on, and we just started getting to know each other, and just realized our perspectives about wanting to change the world and wanting to help the world be a better place and a bigger place. really connected and jived. So we just started doing it, and we've been doing it ever since. And it's just been amazing.
Tremendous. And then talk to me about like Sherry Gideons has that High Vibe Nation, does a great job. And then you got Pam. You've hooked up with Pan Aubrey, am I right? Don't you guys kind of do something together as well?
Be careful how you say that. Yes. As a matter, what's
Oh,
up,
I'm
Serena?
sorry. Come on now. Come on.
The king of my fan club is here, Serena Buffalino. Hello, Serena. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, I did hook up with Pam. Actually, she approached me. She does a show. She does the High Vibe Nation with Sherry Gideons, and I was a guest on their show originally. And then she hit me up. She's like, originally she hit Scott and I up about doing this show called Rainbows and Real Talk, or Rainbows and something else. And Scott's schedule was super busy, so I said I would love to do it. And I said we I think we kind of changed the name to Rainbows in Real Life, because I'm not a rainbow guy. And
Right.
so it's just been a lot of fun. It's every 2 weeks, and we just talk about positive news concepts, and just, again, bringing light and love to the world, bringing opportunities to the world, bringing guests on that can share their perspective, just to keep all of us inspired and working towards the same things, as opposed to the divisiveness and everything else that's going on in the world. So it's just another way for us to connect with people. It's amazing. Just like
Right.
you're doing right now, just exactly the way you started this show.
Tremendous. And you know what? I thank you for reaching out. I just want to point out something. Something told me to gravitate to Chris. He does these walk and talks, and he does a lot of things that are out there. And one day I reached out, and he reached out back. And the next thing you know, we started connecting. And I really like your message. I really do. I'm not just saying it. I love the walk and talks. I hope Ozzy's better. I hope that dog can walk with you as well. But Chris, what I really love you to do right now is talk about your beginnings. Like, did you always live in California? Was life peaches and cream for Christopher Rush when he started out? What was that like growing up?
How much time do you have, Mark? I mean, how long is your show? The
Oh, well, we can go all night, brother. I mean, it don't matter to me. I mean,
Well, at least my 30 days of detox is over, so I can drink again. So, but no, seriously, my story, Mark. Geez, what was that? Sorry, Christopher Rausch is
she
amazing.
says, Chris is amazing.
You can call me
Serena says
Chris.
you're amazing, brother.
I'm just me being me. I mean, honestly, that's all it is. I'm just me being me. But my story in an encapsulated version was I was born here in Los Angeles, California, in a city called Inglewood, back in 1969. Apparently,
Okay.
my mom told me it never rained so long as it did the weeks I was born. Apparently, it rained for 2 weeks straight. But anyways, I was born to my mom, who had various psychological disorders, various chemical dependencies, just had a lot going on. And she was only 26 years old. And I was the second kid that came along the way. I have a sister who is 8 years older than I am, with a different dad. So I immediately came into a situation where my mother admittedly told me she shouldn't have been a mother. It's actually the title of my new book, called It's Just You and Me, Kid. And it's a story about a mother and a son who go through this journey together. And I say it's just you and me, kid, because she was going to give me up for adoption. And she told me, I said, ask her later in life. I said, why didn't you? Because she told me about the miscarriages she had and the abortions that she had. I mean, my mom was not a promiscuous woman, but she was trying to find her healing through other men, let's just say. And
Okay.
so the nurse, she gave birth, and the nurse said, do you want to see him? And she said, at first I thought, no, I don't want to see you. But then I thought, I need to see you at least once. And so they brought me over and put me on her chest. And apparently she looked at me and was like, I can't give him up, or I can't place him for adoption, however the term you want to use. And she said, it's just you and me, kid. And at that point, my sister had been living with her dad. So it was just going to be me and my mom. And things were quite interesting, because I did not have my biological father in the picture. My biological father had a family of his own. And actually his wife was, I found out this later in life too. His wife was pregnant at the same time my mom was pregnant. So literally I have a brother and a sister out there, a half brother, half sister out there. But I obviously, I haven't not talked to those people. They don't even know about me as far as I know. But yeah, for the first 6 years, grew up in Inglewood. Actually, it was a predominantly black neighborhood, and I was the only white kid in the neighborhood. What's up, Larry? Good to see you, brother. And then I thought everything was going to be normal. We were going to move to this city called Anaheim, and it's in Orange County, California. It's a middle
Yes.
class city. Everything was going to be fine. My mom's boyfriend, she got a boyfriend. He was going to move in with us. And I thought at 6 years old, my life's going to finally be normal, because up until that point, I had stayed with my mom's parents, or my mom's boyfriend's parents, for a month while she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. I was just all over the place. And fortunately, up until about 4 years old, I don't have any memories of that. So beyond 4, I was always trying to, what's up, Tom? Good to see you. About after 4 years old, I was just trying to find normalcy. I mean, everything else in my life had been totally chaotic. I was on buses all the time. My mom took me everywhere. If she went to a party, I went to a party. I literally just have all these memories of just being in weird places as a kid. And so when we moved to Anaheim, it was my first attempt to go to first grade, have this guy come live with us. And unfortunately, the perfect world did not turn out perfect. He was abusive. My mom turned out to be very, very abusive physically and mentally abusive towards me. My sister wound up leaving. My mom's boyfriend wound up leaving. So again, it was just down to me and my mom. And then in May 10th, 1982, when I was in the 7th grade, going through a lot of crap in my life, we lost our house. My mom didn't pay the rent on the house because she was trying to save her favorite cat. And we wound up homeless, living in the backseat of a station wagon for the next 4 years on and off, between that and sleazy motels and garages. And I've stayed in all sorts of places. I stayed in an abandoned van in somebody's front driveway for a while when I was 13 years old. We were all over the place. And through
Chris, did anybody help you along the way? I mean, when you were going through that process, I don't know what the hell that's like to live out of a car. I'm so thankful, but did anybody offer to help? Like when you were that age, going through all this, did your mom reach out?
Oh yeah. That's the tough part of the story to tell, is that we did receive lots of offers to help. My grandfather offered to get us another house. My grandfather tried to get us an apartment, but one of the caveats was that my mom had to give up her animals. And like I said before, I'm not sure if I quoted it yet, but it was 18 cats and 2 dogs that we took with us in the car. She lost about 15 cats trying to catch them. We had about 30 cats in the house. It was all clean and everything, but my mom, again, with the psychiatric disorders, did not think that she was actually going to get evicted. And so the landlord called and said, if you're not out by 6 o'clock tonight, we're going to call the sheriff department. So people did offer to help us out, but one of the caveats was that she had to get rid of her animals, and she would never do that, even for me. So that was one of the tough situations that I've had to process over the years, because it was the hierarchy was my mom was first, the animals were second, and then anybody else got whatever was left. But again, it's thank you.
Thank you, Serena. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all part of the situations. I mean, I've never even told all the stories in all of one place. Usually as I talk, I try to remember other stories just to kind of share, because I've told the story so many times. But through that 4-year journey, I mean, dropping out of the 7th grade, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to anybody. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my friends. And for those 4 years, I mean, it was hell. It was drugs, alcohol. I tried to commit suicide twice. Fortunately, I sucked at it. My mom became an informant for the police department while simultaneously she was working for a fucking drug dealer. There's just so many stories,
right?
Stories, Mark. But through that journey and through that process, I grew a lot, and it's made me the man I am today. I mean, so I'm happy to answer any questions in between about that situation.
Sure. So that is tremendous, Chris. I have no idea what that's like. I mean, I don't know what a normal family is, but I didn't go through what you did. And I totally respect that. And that's why I say never judge the book by its cover. And you and I kidded about this prior to the show. You look at you and you say, hey, this is a bandana, badass looking guy. What does he know? And, you're a very intelligent man. I mean, you've got a master's in organizational management. You're not stupid. You know what's going on. I think what I'd like to know, and the rest of us would like to know, how did you develop yourself along the way? What was the constant? What was that, like, I guess, aha moment where you said, hey, maybe I'm going through this crap right now, but Chris, and when I get older, if I have a family, I'm not going to put other people through this. What was that determining factor for you?
That's a great question, Mark. There's a few aspects to that answer. It really started with me taking responsibility for my own future, because up until the point when I was 17 years old, I put everything in my mom's lap. I wanted nothing but my mom to approve of me and to give me love and to put me first. And so I did literally anything that she wanted. I mean, I worked 2 jobs while she was doing this masquerade, trying to help out.
Thank you, Larry.
What's up? But thank you, Larry. And so it got to a point after trying to kill myself and realizing that I was going to get out of here by dying or going to jail or succeeding. I realized I had some decisions to make, and I made one of the toughest decisions I ever made in the world. I made the decision to leave my mom in that motel, but I didn't leave her. So I got an opportunity to go take over somebody's apartment, me and a couple of my buddies. So we left the motel, but I went back there every night and I helped her take care of the cats and I got her stronger. But the real change came when I started dating my first wife, Tammy. And I was I mean, you think I look like now. I mean, back then I had long hair, earrings, leather jacket, smoke cigarettes. I'm 17 years old. I'm a seventh grade dropout, and she wants to introduce me to her parents. And she's like prom queen. Like she's like, the popularity girl. She goes to higher end upper middle school. I mean, it was like, the guy from across the tracks. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a joke. Your father's going to take one look at me and like tell me to run away. And he did actually the opposite. He was amazing. I just did a show called with Barbara Young called God's Hookups. And she said, what's your hookup with God? And I said that Bill White came into my life because he taught me how to believe in myself. He taught me not to judge the book by the cover. He taught me to believe in people and to listen to their stories and to see where they're going, not where they've been. And so at that point, he started believing. My mom still wasn't a fan. She was mad at me that I deserted her and all these other things, but I was still giving her money. But this guy was like, mentoring me, really mentoring me. And he said, he goes, why don't you go back to school? And I said, go back to school, dude. I've been out of school since the 7th grade and I wasn't doing very good in school back then. I've been told all my life I was stupid. My mom called me stupid, sit down and shut up. You're stupid.
There you go. There you go. See,
so it's crazy, but honestly, it's been a process throughout my life. It's just been a process to really, truly realize that everything that happened, and I used to think it happened to me. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I started saying it happened for me because it's made me the man I am today. Having that screwed up childhood, having all the different things that have happened to me over the years are all designed to either have the perspective of, okay, it's there to make me stronger, or it's there to knock me down. Whatever I choose to do. If I choose to be stronger, it's my choice. If I choose to be knocked down, it's my choice. So it's been an evolution in that, and becoming a coach and becoming a speaker and wanting to help other young kids in my situation only solidified that. So when I became a dad, I made a vow that I was going to be the best dad that I possibly could be, even without any fatherly influences in my life. I saw what other fathers did. I always talked to other successful fathers. And when Jackson came into my life, I was like, I'm going to be the best dad I possibly can be. And that's where I've been.
And I don't know you personally. I mean, I feel like I do. We haven't met face to face, but I will bet you are made out of the mold, what I call a man of steel and velvet, where you respect your wife and your child and you love them, but you're not this demeaning, debilitating type individual, and you're uplifting to your wife as well as your son. I'll bet you cherish those moments with your son. I've seen what you put on Facebook. You and Jackson are doing some things together, which I think is very cool.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. No, I really truly look forward to not screwing this kid up. It's been amazing. As part of being a coach, I've really studied human development, human psychology, child psychology over the years, because I've always been really, really.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
I've really been inspired to figure out what makes people tick. What causes us to do the things we do? What causes us to do the things we don't do? And so looking at human psychology and child psychology, a lot of what shapes us happens between 0 and 5, the years 0 and 5. That's when we're the most impressionable. That's when our emotional intelligence in our brain is forming. That's when we start making agreements about ourselves, about others, and start getting an idea of life. And then what we do is we go out there and we have this preliminary belief about life. And so we go out there and we make it come true based on our beliefs. So if our parents had instilled beliefs on us that these people are bad or these people are good, or this is bad or this is good, chances are our lifetime we've been out there fulfilling those self-limiting beliefs. And so for me, it's just really about, figuring out what can make us tick. And really it's about choice. Really it's about choosing to use your story for you and not against you. And for me, I had to actually write it on my arm. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. I had to put that physically on my arm to remind me that when tough times are coming and you're going through those tough times, that's really what is going to make or break you. And that if you look at that and you have that perspective, like Serena Buffalino on here, she is amazing too. I mean, the things that she's doing for humanity and for homelessness and for everything else in the world, you could take all those situations in your life and you could be curled up in a ball and they're going, oh, why me? What's going to happen next? I need somebody to come save me. You hope, wish, and pray to make it, and everybody plays the someday game. We all play the someday game. It's like, someday I'm going to do this and someday I'm going to do that. but realistically, you just have to get in your own mind and realize that you're the one that's unstoppable. You're the one that has to take the risks. You're the one that has to go out there and do these things. And so for me, I'm committed to figuring that out. I'm committed to being the best representation for that to my son, to my wife, to everybody else. And I'm not perfect. And I don't even try to be perfect. I'm one of those guys that will sit there and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. Hey, I don't feel very good. Or I feel kind of, negative today. It's life. But as long as you have the tools to be able to figure out how to pull yourself out of that, that's the most important aspect. And that's you're really, for me, Mark, and you've heard me say it 1,000 times, as long as you're being part of the solution and not part of the problem in any way, shape, or form in your own life, everybody else's life, for me, that's the best mindset you could possibly have. What do you think?
I have to share this with Ron. Ron said parenting is the most important accomplishment. And, being an older parent, Ron and I are a little bit older than you, and our kids are grown. You look back, and there's a lot of things I was going through with some albums. You cherish those times. And here, my son, I was telling you, he closed on a house today at 23. I know what I was doing at 23, and it sure wasn't thinking about getting married and settling down. And he's going to be an accountant at one of them big accounting firms, one of the top 3. And,
Wow.
it just blows me away. I look at the maturity level. He still has a lot to learn yet, but I mean, he's getting married like next month. That's another thing. That's going to be a Greek wedding. I'll tell you all about that. I'll probably be filming on that thing. But yeah.
Well, you got to be proud. I mean, you got to be proud. I mean, yes,
I am.
Parenting is one of the biggest accomplishments, and that's what drives me absolutely bananas. I'm trying not to swear on your show.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You can let it rip. Tom says the beautiful thing you can change is one's limiting beliefs. It's and these are all the things you talk. You're so articulate, Chris. You really are. I love listening to you. And this goes back to when one of my friends, and he said, "Man, who's that dude?" I said, "That dude is a very articulate, intelligent brother, and don't even say anything about how he looks. Don't go there with me, because I don't believe in that stuff. That's just not me."
It doesn't, honestly, Mark, and thank you for that. It doesn't bother me. I have been the wolf in sheep's clothing my entire life. People would sit there and see me and be like, "Oh my God, is he a convict?" I still get people when I'm walking down the street, walking my dog. I sit there and got, Ozzy, and everybody's seen Ozzy. He's just a fat Doberman, but everybody sees the big Doberman and the guy with the tattoos and the bandana, and they're like, "Oh my God." And I forget how I look, but I know how I am. That's the crazy thing.
Right.
That's one thing I know. But if people, honestly, if people sit there and look at it, I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. I'm like, I've had people sit there and say, you swear, and I'm like, it's okay. Whatever works for you, go work for it.
Right.
The thing that bugs me the most, Mark, is when people find something they don't like or don't agree with, and then they just hold on to that.
Yes.
It's like, okay,
that's an excellent point.
Yeah. If you don't like Chris's style, go find somebody else who's motivational or somebody else is inspirational. If you don't like it, but don't sit there. Why? Let's have a show on why do people wear bandanas and their hats on backwards, and why do people swear? I mean, I had probably one of the biggest discussions on LinkedIn way back when, before Gary Vaynerchuk even came out on the scene. And I said, "Is it okay to swear as a professional speaker?" And this thing went on forever, dude. It was like over 500 comments on this thing, and I was just back and forth. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to come out and swear anyway, because I was that suit and tie guy. I don't know if you've ever seen my videos, Mark.
I think I looked at something. Yeah, you were a little, I don't know, man. You kind of had the glasses sometimes, or the tie look, and and you've developed. This is you. This is your brand, and I accept that. It's okay.
It's more than okay. It's what we should all be.
Right.
We're all trying to be something.
That's what's helping me. You know my story, and you've helped me. I mean, believe it or not, just by your show, man, I love listening to you. I catch them Friday night. Gina always like, "Mark, can you put that thing down?" And, I said, "Wait a minute, I got to hear what he's saying." You're supposed to have a date night there sometime, right? I'm teasing.
Yeah. Well, shut Chris off and have a date night. You can always come back to me.
But you got it, man. But moving forward, so what made you become like a coach? How did you was it like, you worked in corporate America. So what triggered that, Chris? So here you have this degree in organizational management. I know you worked for a company somewhere out there. I don't know how many years. And then did the light bulb go off and you said, "Hey, screw this. I'm tired of this lifestyle. I want more. I want to be me. This is not me." What happened?
What's really great about that, Mark, is I've been a coach for a very long time. Actually, one of my goals when I was homeless in that backseat of the station wagon, I remember one of my biggest dreams was that one day I want to own a house and nobody can take it. That was like my biggest dream because we had already moved from Inglewood. I'd been moved everywhere. It was just crazy. And so I just wanted a house. And you know, what was interesting is one of the ways I got out of my mindset, because my mom was not a nice person. My mom was a very opinionated, stubborn person. And I grew up with that, very sarcastic person, a very dry person, a very smart person, book smart, but people smart, not at all. Not at all. So I've really had to dedicate my life. And I can tell you a story about my sister, how it
There's
really.
your brother right there, Scott. Keep being
What's up?
awesome.
Yeah, we were just talking about you a little bit ago, Scott. Thank brother. So let me think where I was. Yeah. So I got into personal development really early. Somebody gave me some Tony Robbins tapes. I think I still have them. I think they're downstairs. I have a bunch of stuff to give away in a garage sale or something, but I had the original. I've saved them forever just for posterior reasons. They were cassette tapes. And
Tony Robbins. Oh, yeah.
Somebody was Personal Power 1.
Oh,
And
wow.
somebody gave me these things and I was like, let me listen to them. And I was like hooked. I mean, immediately hooked. I was like, wow, this guy's got something to say. And I was like, So really, Tony Robbins was one of my first mentors. And I just got invested into personal development and just learned. I'm like, if I want to be successful, I look at my mom and I looked at Bill, my mentor, who was successful and happy, great house, you know, financially stable, you know, everything. And here's my mom. I'm like, okay, I need to do what he did. So I just got really super involved in personal development. And coincidentally, when people would come to me and have any problems, I would just be able to help them without even having a coaching certificate, without even doing anything. I was just able to help people through the experiences that I had. And the best part about it, Mark, was the first time I did it and I saw somebody smile or go have an aha moment about being a victim. I was like, ooh, this is really good. I like this. And so I looked at psychology and sociology and was going to become a licensed marriage family counselor. I was going to do all this because I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help people. But yes, I got into the corporate side of things. I went and got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree and was set out to be an international business major and do all this stuff. And I was there.
Look at that. Tom wants you to be on G-Force, man. You're already tearing it. Yeah, that's his program, G-Force.
I love it. Thank you, Tom. I would love to. I got to be careful not to lose my train of thought because that's one of my.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
I have ADD on crack, so maybe save the flashing things for a minute.
Okay.
What's up, Randy? Yeah, I have ADD on crack. So I just started helping people, and then I got in. Then my goal was, okay, what I want to do is I want to help kids like I was. So that was my biggest thing.
Okay.
So one of the greatest accomplishments I got to do, Mark, was I was out with a buddy one night, and I said, you know what I really want to do? And I'd already been speaking and everything. I said, I'd love to go back to the school I dropped out of and talk to those 7th and 8th graders, you know, full circle. I mean, literally 7th grade dropout. I mean, drugs, alcohol, all this stuff. I said, I just want to go back there and really just talk to myself and tell myself that it's going to be okay. And so he's all, what school did you drop out of? And I said, and this is why everything happens for a reason. I said, Brookhurst Junior High. I said, it's in Anaheim. And he goes, I know that school. And I'm like, oh, you know somebody? He goes, yeah, my wife works there. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Get the fuck out. He's like, yeah. He goes, let me see what I can do. It was 3 days later. His wife was the PE coach, talked to the principal, got a few approvals. And then boom, it's actually a YouTube video on my YouTube. It's a video on my YouTube channel where I got to go back to Brookhurst Junior High and talk to those kids, and just everything just has built up in my life to help people, to take my story, to take the stuff that's happened to me, take your trash and turn it into treasure. So I just got into coaching, and I got into it without even realizing you could make money at it. It was just what my way was to take everything that I had been through to make it, give it meaning and purpose. But officially I've been coaching, I mean, geez, for over 20 years. I started my business, Master Motivators, in 2008. I came home from a funeral and I wrote my eulogy, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I want to become a speaker. I want to do everything I can to impact people in a positive way.
So that's a pretty good point by Ron. He says, first they dislike based on first impressions. Then they fill in the reasons after. That's the definition of prejudice. Amen to that.
Great encapsulation, Ron. Yes.
That is awesome, Ron. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, I don't know if people know this about you, and please don't be embarrassed, but I've got to bring it up. Sure. Brightest Star Organization, ladies and gentlemen, Olive Crest Children's Foundation. He donates his time and helps these kids. He does these. This is the type of guy we're talking about. This is a quality individual. And I'm like really amped up, a little nervous to have him here, because I feel like sometimes you're way up there, I'm down here. But you know what? You don't compare. I'm me, you're you, and that's how we roll, And with
Two
all
brothers
that, I
talking, that's
have
it.
to ask you, how did you get? I remember you told me this briefly. Talk to me about your radio. Did you used to do like some radio, like in your basement, or were you a DJ, or what was the deal with that? Just talk
Was
to
I
me
a
a little bit.
stripper? Was I a stripper? That's one that still hangs in the balance. Was
Really? Were
was
you?
it? Was he a model? Was he a call girl? No. Yeah. It's,
You're
you know,
crazy.
it's again, everything that I think about now, Mark, ties to everything happening for a reason. And by the way, also since Serena's on here, do a lot of work with Help Heal Humanity. I mean, Serena's organization placed a school in Haiti, taking care of places in Kenya, here in the United States, and Hamilton, everything. Yeah, Tom,
He's
ADHD.
got that similar ADHD, brother. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I could talk for hours on that, but
Yeah.
do me a favor, don't pull those up. They're what was your question again?
I said, I'm sorry. I had to share that. Tom Ginn sounds cool. Okay. What we were talking about is radio. How did you
Radio.
get involved with that? I mean, these are all like developmental stages for you. You did this, you did that, and look where you're at today. But I mean, what made you do radio? What made you like, hey, I'm gonna like get on here and have some fun with this? And just curious.
Yeah, it was. One of my coaching clients that I just was talking to previously says I love to talk, and podcasts were just coming out and they were starting to become a big thing. And I was like, okay, podcast for me, sitting alone in a room talking to recording, it didn't sound very fun. It didn't sound very fun. I like to engage with people. So I just went on the good old interweb and was like typing in, and I was like, okay, there's this thing called Blog Talk Radio. And so I looked at Blog Talk Radio. I'm like, I could have a live radio show every week. Okay, cool. I'm like, what would I want to do on that radio show? I'd want to talk about motivation, inspiration, people's stories, people's challenges. So I called it the Kick-Ass Radio Show. And every week I had a guest come on and share 5 kick-ass tips for living an awesome life. I did it for 2.5 years. It's still on iTunes. I think you can get the link through my webpage, ChristopherRausch.com. If you go to podcasts, there's that, all the shows are still there. Did it for 2.5 years, was amazing. Loved talking to people, loved interviewing people, and started having the dream in my head. I'm like, someday I want a talk show. I want like a talk show on video. Because back in this day, it was more of a podcast, but it wasn't anything that had to do with video and cameras. And so I was like, one day I want to be like Oprah. I want to have a variety show. I want to just like have this show where I'm bringing people on and helping them transform and having fun and having guests and talking about music and just all sorts of different things that just can really can engage the senses and make us grow, just have a really good time. And so I started doing that and did that for 2.5 years and got a little burned out on it. And then took a little bit of a break and was like, okay, I'm going to do a proper podcast now. And then took a big break. And then Speaking of the Heart Podcast Network had approached me and said, hey, we would love to have you on our network. You're totally different than everybody else we have on here. And I said, can I swear? And I said, yeah. And I said, can I look like I look? And I said, yeah. We're going to put you on at 7:00 in California time, 10:00 Eastern time. And then that's when I came up. I just started riffing with the Raw and Unscripted show and got into that and I've been doing that. But that
is awesome. That is awesome, man. And I know you had failures. So I'm going to ask you, you don't have to tell me every one, but everybody thinks they look at you now. They look at, I've interviewed other people that are successful in their own right. And everybody thinks, oh, well, I could never do what they are doing. But it wasn't easy, was it? To get where you are today. I mean, I know it's been many moons ago, but you had to start somewhere, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's my point with people, whether you're in sales, whether you're a self-help coach, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, we all got to start somewhere. And I think there is no like quick fix, shortcut, microwavable, instant spontaneous. And, that concerns me with, my son. I've preached to him, you got to put in the work, you got to put in, and he's done it. But, some people don't want to always put in the work. So why don't you share about that? Like, what do you think? What's going on in our world today?
People are fucking lazy.
Okay.
I mean, that's the point of it. When I have people tell me, and it's so funny that, I mean, it's such a great question, Mark. I want to compliment you on that. I love being asked different questions. Yeah, failures. What are failures? Failures, again, it's another opportunity to shift your perspective like that. A failure is not a failure. A failure is a learning opportunity. So when I look back on my quote unquote failures, I don't look at them as failures. I look at them as opportunities for true growth. And looking back on those, there was some situations I haven't done everything perfectly. I mean, my first marriage wound up being a divorce, mutual responsibilities for both of that. So I look back on that and was like, okay, that was a multitude of different aspects that came into play. We got married when we were 18 years old, 18 or 19. We were just kids. But through those processes, I learned what to do as a husband. I learned how to be as a person. I learned how to navigate situations involving, other relationships. So everything that's been in my life where I've been down, I won't say it's a failure, but it's caused me to examine that situation to say, okay, Chris, what could you have done differently? What could you have done better? How can you see a situation like this in the future and potentially do something different? How are you going to learn from this? And that's where most of the time we don't take that time to do. A lot of people will take the time to blame. They won't take responsibility for themselves. They'll sit there and say, oh, this happened because of them. This happened because of my parents. This happened because of the teachers. This happened because of my religion. I talked to so many. That's how I came up with the no excuses coach thing. Literally, I came up with it because I was fucking sick and tired of people sitting there going, oh, I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't know. I had somebody, I swear to God, Mark, see, you're going to get me fired up.
Right. That's okay.
I had somebody tell me not too long ago, somebody told me they were overweight. And I said, well, what are you doing to correct the situation? In my nicest tone. And they said, well, I'd love to know how to cook healthy, but I just don't know how.
Okay.
I was like, where? Oh, here it is. Here. I got to do it for visual.
That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you have one of these? Google that shit, right? Google it. It blows my mind how people, can be so victimized by their own stories. And so for me, when I look at those situations, again, what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. Things are happening for me. Mistakes are learning opportunities. We don't know what we don't know. So if you do something, like you said before, we all started out somewhere. And I've had people call me, oh, Chris, you're an anomaly. Oh, you're special. You're gifted. I'm like, no, I'm not. I was a 7th grade homeless dropout who was told he was stupid all of his life. I was the guy that was bullied at school and then got bullied at home. You look at every metric that I can share with you, I'm not supposed to be where I'm at. And that's what
exactly
a lot of people will tell you that. They're like, I'm not supposed to be where I'm at. So what is the difference? The difference is the grit, the hustle. Yes, it is not easy, but it is totally fucking worth it. That's the part people don't want to deal with. They want the magic pill. They want the 2-day course. They want all that other shit. But guess what? When is the best time to plant an oak tree? 25 years ago or today? So that's what the problem that people have is they sit there and they go, oh, I don't want to do all that work. I don't want to get sweaty. Do you want to fit through the doorway or not? Do you want to not die of diabetes or not? Yes, you're going to have to get, I'm not a morning person. Get the fuck up in the morning. Guess what? You'll become a morning person because you're going to be tired as shit when you go to bed at night. And then you'll get up in the morning. Trust me, I did it. I was the guy that went to sleep at 1:00 in the morning and still got up at 5 anyway. So it's just about getting out of your own way. It's about dropping those excuses. It's about, holding yourself to a higher standard. It's about knowing really what your legacy is going to be in this life. If you know what your why, you know what your why is, then you figure out the how. So for me, my why was to be successful in spite of everything that had been presented before me, to be successful and to be a different person than my mom was, and to not let my story predict my future. My sister, like I said before, I didn't know my sister. My sister left when I was 9 years old and she was 16, and I didn't see her again until 2005. And this was back in 1981, I think. So I didn't see her until 2005. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't had any conversations with her. And my sister hated my mother, hated her, hated with every ounce of being.
Really?
And so we reconnected. Oddly enough, this is crazy. My sister lived across the freeway from me the entire time. Literally, she lived 5 minutes away from me. And I found her on People Search and we reconnected. And the long story short was she turned it exactly like my mom. Exactly. She wasn't homeless with my mom. She didn't go through any of the crap that I went through my mom. And she turned out literally, I could tell you story for story for story, how she turned out exactly like my mom. And she's like, how did you not turn out like mom? And I said, because I chose not to. I chose to bust my ass. I chose to read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books and listen to hundreds and hundreds of hours of audio and to ask people questions of how they did it and to get around the right people and to not let my story be my excuse. And that's why I'm at where I'm at today. And ultimately, Mark, and it hurts me to say this, but ultimately I had to wish my sister well again because she was such a victim and she was such not a nice person that I had to wish her well, because I was like, I cannot have this toxicity in my life. I'm not going to allow this. It was amazing. She was just like my mom. And out of respect for my mom, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put up with this anymore. So I said, I wish you well. I really wish you have a nice life, that you find everything you want, but it's not going to be with me. And that was a big step in my life also too, because I was like, you know, I wanted to save her and I wanted to help her and I wanted to do all those things. And I tried, but she was so glued to her story and so glued to how her mother screwed her up. I'm like, Maria, you're 40 years old now. How can you say mom screwed you up? You had a dad who cared about you. You had a dad who had money. You weren't homeless. How could you sit there and put that on mom? That's ridiculous. You are going to be a miserable person for the rest of your life. And so I had to leave with that. And I've helped so many people, Mark, with that ability to wish people well, not from anger, not from resentment, not from hurt or anything else, but really from a calm place in your heart to say, listen, you know, we're related by blood. Like I said, you know, I've got brothers and sisters out there related by blood from my dad's side, of my biological father's side of the correlation. And I hope they're fine. I hope they actually never find out about me. I hope they never find out that their dad cheated on their mom and boom, here's Chris. Woo. Yeah, you chose to be a different mother. Right. So I wished her well. So really, you know, my whole story is this, Mark, is that you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind. And that's what Bill White said to me. And this family was so gracious because I got to hold his hand when he passed away after we were divorced. After we were divorced, when Bill was dying, I was in the hospital. I held his hand and talked to him while he passed. His wife was on the other side. All of his kids, his biological kids, were in the room with us. And I was there holding his hand. I felt bad. You know, I'm already divorced from Tammy and it was kind of awkward anyway. And I'm like, does anybody want to, I feel like I was like hogging him. No. And so I just talked to him. I was like, Bill, I got this. I'm with the kid. I'm with your wife. I'm with everybody. I'm going to be there for him. So you just got to have that tenacity. You just got to have that drive to not use your excuses as blame. Yes.
There's a good point. Don't let your story be your excuse. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. And look who is hopping on board here, Mr. Ken Walls.
What's up, Ken?
So, hey, Ken.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you for stopping by.
I always call Ken Mr. Livestream, but you brought up a great point since Ken said hi. You know, you wanted to engage with people. So the podcast versus this. There are people, what would you tell people, since you do this all the time, Chris, about going live? I mean, you encourage me. You remember when I started out, you said, hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. You know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be great. You know, just keep working at it. It'll come. If I can help you, I'll help you. And he's saying, hey, to both of us. Hey, Ken, thank you. So, yeah, he's the master. So what would you tell somebody today? You know, like, even from a business perspective, you said people are lazy. They don't want to do this or that. I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think live streaming is a waste of time? Do you think it can help people? Do you think you can reach more people than, you know, a podcast or whatever, or, you know, talking to people on the phone? I'm not making fun of that. I'm just trying to make a point here. Sure. What do you think about live streaming today and opportunities?
That's a great question, Mark. I mean, I think I look at it this way. I look at any opportunity to connect with somebody is a great opportunity. So whether picking up the phone and calling somebody, whether writing somebody a handwritten note and leaving on their windshield, whatever it is that you can connect with somebody, but especially this day and age, if you have a message you can send that can help somebody and lift somebody up, cause them to think a little bit differently, give them some tools to be able to get out of the situation they're in, I believe that is absolutely a phenomenal way to do it. Moreover, I believe that as broadcasters ourselves and people who might be considering doing this, like Glenda's on here, I told Glenda to go do it too. You know, start doing it. It's like when first time I did it, I was awkward and uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, you know, especially when I did a podcast, it was like, okay, I feel weird sitting in my room recording something. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you start doing something that's uncomfortable, what do? You become stronger. You become more courageous. Right. And what is one of the biggest fears in life? Public speaking. People rather be dead than giving the eulogy, where I've given 3 eulogies in my life already. I've even written my own. So live streaming, yes, is connecting. Yes, that's what we're supposed to be doing, is connecting, because now we have the capability to connect from all over the world. I belong to a WhatsApp group, a private WhatsApp group that's international. And I've met so many people just to be able to have a Zoom conversation with them. And because I've done so many lives, now when these people see me on a Zoom conversation, they're like, wow, you're really good at this. I'm like, oh, by the way, I have 3 shows and da 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 da, and I've been doing these things. So yes, anything that pushes you out of your comfort zone is phenomenal. If you have something to share, you have a gift, get on there and share that. Like you got Mark's message, right? Ken's going on there, and they got the Ken and Glenn show with the guy named Scott
Right,
going on.
right.
It's just a beautiful way to connect, and that's the way we're going right now. So, and I think honestly, for me, it's given me more confidence that when I'm speaking to people in person, now I can even take more of a step back and really think about the next question I'm going to say, because I'm not on film, I'm not on camera, and I can really have more powerful, in-depth, in-person conversations, because now I've learned how to be a better listener. So that's what I'm
There you go.
sure you'll agree, Mark. I mean, when you're interviewing people day after day after day, you have to become an insanely great listener, not just somebody who hears things, or selective hearing disorder, which I call it, that screws a lot of people up in their relationships. It's a matter of being an effective listener and being able to say back, hey, Mark, thanks a lot for that answer. I really appreciate it. Here's what you said, da 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 da, and being able to say that, because it just makes you a better person and a better interviewer. And absolutely, live streaming is the way to go.
Okay. I just wanted to get your take there, my man, because you're on it all the time. I got to ask you though, Chris, and thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful, beautifully stated. Um, I like baseball, and you talked about failing your way to success. That's what I call it. Because of baseball, that's what you do. They're not really failures. You're kind of building your approach. You mentioned about time. I kiddingly call my dad Warden Wayne. He was a tough son of a gun, a steel worker, retired sergeant major. But the one thing we all knew not to do in our household was say, I don't have enough time. That was the kiss of death, because he said, don't tell me you don't have enough blankety blank time. It's just, don't
What's
even
blankety
bring it
blank?
up. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to sound like him too much, but that was a great point that you brought up. I'm just showing some comments here, and look at that. Christopher Rausch is the man. See, Ken, see?
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I'm just me being me. That's one of the best things about life, Mark, is that
Right.
when you just free fall into who you really are, you don't have to pretend to be anything else. You don't have to put on
Sure.
the other mask that we used to have to put on every day. I had a corporate job for 26 years, and I could be me to a certain extent, but there was that part of me that I always had to like bury and hide and keep within. And then, certain aspects we go into, but when you're just being yourself and you connect with people, that's living life. That's not existing in life. That's living life. So however you can connect and be yourself, then you find other people get you, and you get other people talking, and you have these real conversations, and you find out that people aren't superficial, and it's just the best way to live, at least for me. So I appreciate you saying that.
Right. Okay, here you go. He says, I don't wear masks. Oh, Ken. Anyway, he's a trip, man. That's what I love about Ken. But to
Straightforward.
me, yeah, he can't say enough good things about Ken. He's the guy that inspired me to do this. And then just watching the rest of you guys out there, and I'm figuring, hey, if you can do it, I can do it. You've been doing it longer. That's the difference between me and you. I'll put it on the table, but I'm not intimidated. Maybe at one point I was when I started out, but I'm like, hey, I didn't run with Chris when he first started out. So he's got some mileage over me, but that's it. It's not like he's way up here and I'm down here. And that was my point when I brought that question up to you. People struggle up here thinking, oh, I'm not going to get that sale, or gee, I'm not going to reach out to Ken Walls. He's not going to talk to me. I'm just a little pea in a pod, or a Glenn Morshard. Like, to me, you are a wide open version of him. He's got the sophistication, and he's very calm and, reserved, but you're just like, let it rip, wide open. And that's what I love about you, man. It's the way you come across. And when I
Thank you.
first saw you, I said, yeah, I like what this guy is saying. What he is saying is truth. And truth is truth. You can't fight it, deny it. So I got to ask you, since I love baseball, did you have a 3-2 moment in your life when you said, hey, man, I'm going to get out of this damn job and I'm going to move forward and do my thing, and I know people aren't going to like this, but, I'm going to do this.
Right.
Could you share that with us?
I've had I've had a lot of 3-2 moments in my life. Honestly, it's interesting how when you reflect back on the decisions that you make and the different forks in the road that come along. I could have been in so many different places right now. And I'm so thankful that I made the choices that I did, because thank you very much. It's made me the person I am today. Um, so when I think of when I exited my career job last November 7th, I remember what was it?
He said, let it rip. So he's thinking something else, and
Let it
that's
rip.
okay.
That's
We can
my
get
son. He knows
into
that.
flagellism and all that, that's so we'll let that go.
I have a 3 and a
That's
half year old.
Ken. That's why I love Ken too. He makes it fun.
Let's it rip. So no, when I exited my 26-year job, at least the last one I had, I was director of operations.
Mm-hmm.
I'd worked my way up from the warehouse worker. I was the bottom of the totem pole, literally almost to the top. And over that 26-year period, I'd still been doing coaching and speaking and everything, at least for the last, the last 20 years, really. I'd been with the company for 26 years, and for 20 of those, I've been speaking and coaching. And all simultaneously, I kept thinking, okay, when is my jump off point? When is my point where I'm going to leave the corporate career and do that? But I've coined a term now. Thank you.
Here's your fan club. They love you, man.
Rauschenberg was, I had to get to a point where I realized, I just coined this phrase, I was comfortably miserable. I was making over 120 grand a year. I had 5 weeks of vacation. I was a leader in a company. I had international oversight over our offices. I mean, it was great. And the book right behind me, it's called The Big Leap. I'm going to keep it up there. It's one of the books I keep right here. I don't keep, the obvious, I
haven't read it yet, but I'm going to have to get it now.
This book right here in there talks about, you can either operate in your zone of, they talk about the different zones, but the two most important. Sorry, I can talk. The most important are your zone of excellence and then your zone of genius. So for me, leadership and getting my master's degree and all that stuff in business, my zone of excellence, easily. I could have left the corporate job and got another one. Probably could have went to vice president. Could have done that a long time ago, actually, but I chose to remain, excuse me, I chose to remain true to who I was instead of playing the political game. Otherwise, I could have easily been a vice president, but I wasn't going to sacrifice that. I was like, you know what? I could play the game and I could totally do it well, but I saw my mom playing the games. I don't want to play the games, so I'm not going to play the games. I'm just going to be who I am and be happy with what I have. It's a great book. Gay Hendricks is incredible, because it really opened my eyes. Like, what is my zone of genius then? Like, what is your zone of genius? Is something you can do for hours and hours and not get bored. Well, obviously I can talk. Obviously I love to help people. Obviously I love to transform people's lives. And so I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm here in my zone of excellence, but I'm not always fulfilled. But in my zone of genius, I'm always fulfilled. So taking a look at that exit from my 26-year career, and I was like, okay, I'm 50 years old at the time. I'm like, do I really want to put my future in the hands of another organization? And this is before COVID. Do I really want to put my hands in another organization? And I went through an identity. We could talk about identity, because that's really an interesting thing that comes out of being at a company for 26 years or being in the business world for 26 years. But I was sitting there, like, really analyzing, what do I want to do with my life? And then my son walked in, and I just looked at him, and I was like, when I did my job, I was comfortably miserable. I made good money, but I got home at 7:00 at night, and I spent an hour and a half with him. And then I wouldn't see him in the morning because I would be gone. I'd get up and leave for work at 5:00 in the morning. So I just looked at him. I'm like, I want to spend as much time with him as I possibly can. I missed out on when he was a baby because I was working my ass off. I was working 14 hours a day, giving more to my job than I was to my family. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do my coaching. I want to do my speaking. I want to give it a real shot. I want to make schools. I want to make opportunities for people to have a great life. I want to spend time with my son. I want to be there for these growing years, especially because we just talked about the child psychology aspect of it. 0 to 5, you're going to create the behaviors you're going to create. And so I was like looking at everything, and I just drew up a business plan to my wife. And I said, listen, give me 12 to 18 months to make this successful. And otherwise I'll go back and I'll get a corporate job. And she was like, I did this whole business presentation on her, like all the financials, how I'll make it work. And she was like, okay, let's do it. And then literally I had about a week and a half, and then COVID hit, and my son wasn't able to go back to school. So I've been that stay-at-home dad. And through that time, just free falling into doing what I really love to do and letting go of, oh, I got to get a job and I have to have a paycheck and I have to have this, versus what I want and what I excel at, has been a total game changer. And really, honestly, taking my own words of advice, because I have to be congruent with what I say. Otherwise, I won't say it. I didn't coach and speak for 2 years because I went through my own shitstorm again. And I was like, I'm not going to coach people, right? People are like, why aren't you coaching? I'm like, because I'm going through a shitstorm right now and I need to figure it out. Like, you can still coach. I'm like, I'm not going to give anybody advice right now because I'm not taking my own advice. So I went through that process, which was great. And I just realized throughout all of this is that if you don't believe in yourself and you don't risk for yourself and you're playing it safe, then what kind of eulogy you're going to have? What kind of life are you going to really have? So it forced me to jump. I mean, like you hear me talk about it. If you guys never seen it, go Google Steve Harvey jump. It's 2-minute video. It will change your perspective about taking risks in life, because I have talked to so many people, Mark, and I'll end on this question. I've talked to a lot of older people. I've been in convalescent hospitals where my mom was at, where my grandma was at, and I would talk to these people. And the biggest regret, you can check it out. It's also in the 5 regrets of the dying. The biggest regret of people was that they lived the life they thought they were supposed to live, and they didn't live the life they wanted to live, and that breaks my heart to think about. When I talk to older people, like, oh yeah, my dad wanted me to become a lawyer, so I became a lawyer, but I really wanted to become a mechanic. All these different stories that I tell people. And now I'm having people come to me in their mid 50s, like, I still want to go after that. Help me go after that. I'm like, okay, we'll got to do it, but it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. So yes, you got to go after, you have to have passion for what it is that you're doing. So many people are existing in life and they're waiting, hoping, wishing, and praying that someday it's going to be okay. And trust me, it won't be. It's just going to get worse, and it's going to get harder.
And with all this COVID activity, that's taken place in our world, and people wanting more money from the government and checks. And I won't get into that. I digress. Excuse me. But we all have gone through this process. I didn't think I'd be at home like I started in March, and I'm now into October, which is probably going to take me into like February or March of 2021. And, for a lot of us, or maybe permanently, like, hey, do you just want to roll with the way it is now and you work out of your home? And and that's what's going to happen to some of us, which I don't have a problem with. But what I'm getting at is, I know some people don't have opportunities. Well, they have opportunities, but they want that check. You know where I'm going with this. And it just amazes me when I think, and I told you some of my story 11 years ago, the 3 jobs or whatever the hell I was doing. I can't even remember. I don't even like thinking about it, because I was constantly tired and edgy and irritable, but I had to do those things to survive. It's like people don't want to do that, Chris. And it's what you said. It's like they feel entitled. They're either lazy. A good friend of mine, I mentioned his name, Kirk Smith, is a conductor. Right now, he's not conducting because there's no live performances, but he's a CBD oil distributor. And I think that's marvelous. Here's a conductor, man. I mean, this dude knows his craft. And one of the things he put on a post, I'll have to reshare it. It's a blank piece of paper. He said, "This is what you're entitled to." It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you come across. And that's why I enjoy your show. You and Scott, when you're out there and you bring in your guests, you do a tremendous job. And that just resonates with me. You're looking for solutions. You don't want to hear the excuses.
Yes. That's a really important part, Mark. And I have this to say about that. I mean, I grew up on welfare, food stamps, seeing my mom
Sure.
go to a store. So I think if there's an opportunity there to get a hand and get a help in a situation that you're in, by all means. But like you said, the people are like, where's the next check and when's this and when's that? For me during this time, one of my most passionate messages to people is to be resourceful. To be truly resourceful. And I'll give you an example, Mark. And for everybody who's watching, when somebody says, Chris, did you do the best you could? What is our default answer? If I say, Mark, did you do the best you could? Most of the time you're going to say, yeah, I did the best I could. Because what is it? It's a default statement, or it's a default way of getting out of something, but when you really think about what is your best? And I caught myself in a lie 3 or 4 years ago. I did something, I can't remember what it was, but I was like, I was taking off my watch and it was the end of the night. And I was like, I did the best I could. It was something sometimes I talk out loud to myself and I'm like, I did the best I could. And I went, you're full of shit. I called myself. I was like, you're full of shit. You did not do your best. What are you trying to get away with right now? You're trying to make yourself feel better. You did not do your best. And the way I look at my best, Mark, is like, if somebody came in here, and this is pretty drastic, I realize this, but if somebody came in here and put a gun to my son's head and said, you need to figure out a way to raise $20,000 in a week, or I'm going to shoot your son, and you can't do it illegally, immorally, or unethically, guess what? I get chills, because I work this with people. Like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, if I put a gun against, who's the person you love the most? And their shit,
Right.
their physiology changes. Because like
Right.
if somebody did that, I would go out there and I would like crowdfund campaigns. I'd go stand on the street corner. I would go ask for, I would do anything I could resourceful to figure out how to solve my problem. But so many people are sitting there going, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to get to go back to my job." And I'm like, are you delivering for, Uber? I mean, what else can you do? Can you get into a distributor situation? Can you start selling? Somebody's selling Selexis, Nexus, some sort of supplement thing. Can you get into something?
Right.
Can you go
Right.
pick up dog shit for $10 a day? I've told people that. Like, do you have a lawnmower? Can you go out there and do this? You have to get resourceful. You have to get hungry, as Les Brown says. You
Right.
have to. It's not the same old, same old. And the people that have gotten lazier and whatever, more complacent during this time of COVID, I don't have any sympathy for them, because I've been telling people all along, you should be getting stronger. Your relationships at home should be stronger. You should be brainstorming with your family. What is it you can do? Just get creative and but so many people because that's the way they've learned. It's like, oh, if I wait long enough, maybe somebody will save me, or somebody's going to give me a hand, or I could just say, oh, I'm not successful, or my family didn't eat last night because the government didn't do something for me. I mean, come on, that's asinine. That's really
And
asinine.
you see, that's a great point. And Teresa says so many people think jobs are beneath them. And when I was cutting grass, selling lawn care, doing security work at football games, and I don't know what the hell else I was doing. I just did it. Well, it's fun. It's what you just said. I had to do it, and that was it, man. So
Yeah.
let's roll with it and do it. And was I tired? Yeah. Yeah, I was. Thank God for coffee. Excuse me if you don't drink it, but at that time I needed it, man.
And you figure it out. Everything is figure outable. There's a great book by Marie Forleo. Everything is figure outable. It's an amazing book. You will figure it out. I mean, that's what Serena is. Serena's a figure out person. That's one thing that I love. And I'm learning really about myself, Mark, is that I was a perfectionist because I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to make mistakes, but now, you see an opportunity, just go for it. Just run with it. Figure out what you're going to do with it. Have behind it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least you're going on. And I look at it this way. I look at the universe rewards people who have skin in the game, who have tenacity and grit, who don't give up. That's why I believe I'm still going. And that's why I believe I'm going to be going for a really long time. That's why I believe there's going to be schools with my name on it or something, because I'm going to leave an impact in this world that is beyond anything I could have imagined as that 7th grade homeless dropout, because that's what I'm committed to. That's what I've written down in paper as my eulogy. This is going to be my defining moment. And that's what I live to inspire people to do. And I love doing it. I love just having those little clicks. And then they're like, fuck, I'm on fire. I'm unstoppable.
I did not know Glenda Wright is in Carrollton, Georgia. How about that?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. So
how far away is that
I'm just throwing that out there. Thank you, Glenda, for sharing that. But Chris, I guess we're at that point where I'm going to tone this thing down. But the one thing I do want to mention,
what do you want to tone it down for? I'm just getting fired. I'm just getting.
I'm teasing you, man. No, yeah. Oh, look at him. He's ready to go.
Loosen my neck up.
He's ready to go, man. But can I just share, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, if people know who you are, is this kind of where they can get in touch with you? Does that look about right? Your website, you're on all the social media platforms rather. Hey, man, there's his phone number. There's his email address. Can I get your personal cell? No, I'm kidding.
That is my personal cell.
I know it is. No, and that's what I love about you, man. You just put it out there. So that's how you can get a hold of Chris. And I'm not ending this thing yet. I just wanted to share that with people. What would you tell people right now? So we're getting ready to get out of this thing. We're not going to go back. So you hear kids that say, gee, I don't know what I want to do with myself. I'm trying to find a job. I laugh because I wish I had all this stuff back in the 80s. Excuse me, I'm dating myself, or even the 70s. Because I asked, I don't know if you saw the interview, and Benjamin Franklin Gay III, Ben Gay, and I brought that up to him. He said, I'd be living in a castle, Mark. Now, he was in direct sales and all these different organizations. He was the numero uno guy. And, he explained all that and all the different people he knew, from Zig Ziglar to, we could keep going and going and going. I don't want to digress, but he mentioned that. And today, man, it's there if you want it. I guess that's the problem. I struggle when I see others saying I can't, or in my family, can't wasn't an option. My dad said can't ain't an option. Stop telling me what you can't do and go out there and do it. And
Mhm.
he didn't want to hear it. Of course, I was thankful to have a dad like that, and I'm grateful that he instilled the work ethic. Uh, I
Right.
guess, are we missing that as a country, Chris? Do you think? Do people not want to put in that work? That I'm confused. Can you help me out here?
I would
I'm not
love
saying
to.
everybody, but do you
Right.
think some?
Yeah, no, I think it's have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? It
I
wasn't a very
haven't.
it wasn't a very popular movie. It's one of those stupid comedies, but I watched it now 3 times. I told my wife, I said we should watch it again because it's kind of where the world is going based on all the conditioning and the programming that's going on from reality shows. I mean, there's so much to talk about and within that. But honestly, Mark, um, this is why I now only deal with true go-getters when I coach. I used to coach anybody and everybody, but now I go through an interviewing process to make sure that they're really in it to win it, that they've really experienced enough pain. And that's when people ask me like, what's the greatest motivator? They're expecting me to say, oh, your legacy or you're this or you're that. The greatest motivator is pain. And the greatest way to get to pain is to foresee it in advance now. So, like for example, I got a guy to quit smoking cigarettes based on the fact that he had a 4-year-old daughter, and I said, I want you to have a conversation in your mind where you're telling your little daughter that you chose smoking over going and handing her off at her wedding. It's a long story short, but I literally got him to visualize enough pain associated with the choices he's making today with what's going to happen in the future. I'm like, can you imagine your daughter walking down the aisle and not having her dad there because you fucking smoke cigarettes? And I got pissed off. This is like way back in my early coaching career, using
Right.
visualization and stuff like that. And I got him to I got him to change. I was like, ooh, pain. Pain is amazing. So
Yes.
if you're not in pain right now, you need to figure out a way to assemble pain in your brain because that's the greatest motivator. And some people hit bottom. I've seen people hit bottom, and that bottom wasn't enough. And we've all seen people hit bottom, like, ooh, he hit bottom. And then you've seen people hit bottom, like bottom, like give up bottom, like have to be drug out of the house into, put into a rehab situation. Whatever that is, that's one of the greatest pivot points for rising back up. But so many people sit there and feel the pain and they're like, I just don't want to feel the pain anymore. So what do? They look for short-term gratifications, drugs, alcohol, TV, shopping, sex, any short-term, football, sports. Oh, I've got, politics, whatever it is. I've seen so many people just gravitating to something. I'm like, you should really be focusing on the inside stuff versus everything you're putting on the outside, because that gives them an
Right.
opportunity to blame. That gives them an
Right.
opportunity to say, oh, I didn't have enough time. Like, okay, what did you watch yesterday? Well, I watched an hour of Netflix, but I need my downtime. I'm like, did you spend an hour doing something that would lift you up or grow you? No. Okay, well, J-Lo has 24 hours in a day. Madonna has 24 hours in a day. Everybody has 24 hours in a day. You need to figure it out. So for me, what I would tell people is that you have to be
Right.
hungry. You have to realize that you cannot continue to do what you've always done, and you will continue to get what you've got, which is what Dr. Wayne Dyer says. And you have to get around the right people. I mean, geez, Mark, we couldn't even talk about that for another hour. The
I
5
know.
people you're around the most: Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When I changed the people I was around, Mark, when I was not around that motel people anymore and all the drug dealers and all my friends that said it was stupid for me to go back to school, when I got around people who were smarter and brighter than me, my trajectory completely changed.
And those people uplifted you and said, "Hey, Chris, you can do it, man. I think that's great what you're doing." They didn't make fun of you or knock you for doing it. And that's my mindset sometimes. I just can't worry about what people think about me. Not that I don't care for people, but when I set my mind to do something, that's it. And you can ask my wife. It's not always a good thing sometimes, but
Yeah, I
hey,
mean, you just gotta
it's
go.
you got that definite of purpose, and like she's like, it's 7 o'clock, and you're still calling people. I said, yeah, well, there's people on the West Coast. That's
Mhm.
4 o'clock their time. That's prime time. I'm calling,
Yep.
and that's how you got to be. And anybody that's been successful, athlete, musician, what you do, they all have a pattern, and like they say, success leaves clues. And you
Yes.
mentioned the word hunger, and I've often said, to be hungry, helpful, uh, and when you're hungry, to me, you're always wanting to learn, and you're like a sponge, like you read books, you and that's people look at me like I'm weird because I've always got some sort of book laying around here I'm reading and, trying to better myself. And whether it's self-help or sales or, just how to be a better person in general. So,
right. No, I mean, that's such an important part, Mark, is if you spend time relaxing, I don't discount that. I actually just posted
right.
today, you have to have a self-care day, but it's just amazing how many people don't invest time just to sit down and read a book or do something that moves them closer to where it is that they want to be and the person they want to become. I tell myself, I don't want to be the same person I was yesterday. I'm constantly looking how I can grow. Scott and I talk all the time, like, okay, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? How do we, iron sharpens iron. And
Right.
to your point, Mark, it's one thing to be around people that lift you up, but here's the thing. And this is why coaching is more important than I ever thought it really was, because I had my own coach last year and she wasn't the rah-rah guy. She was the, hey, Chris, you're fucking up. Hey, Chris, you said you were going to do this. She got in my ass. She held me accountable and she was tough. She's
Right.
like, oh, you sit there and talk about all this stuff, but what do you want to do? It's one thing to fluff people up, but it's another thing to be honest with them. And that's why I posted a long time ago. I said, if you have a best friend, do you tell them the truth when they ask you an honest question? Like, does my ass look fat in these pants? Or no, baby, you're just curvy. No, you need to be a best friend and say, yeah, you are fat. And if you want to stay that way, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to be healthy and attractive man, you got to lose some pounds, baby. Let's go out and run.
Right.
You need
Right.
to have people in your life. And
Right.
most people aren't honest. They're afraid to be honest. And then what happens? Oh, I'm sorry. My friend killed herself because she was depressed, because you never fucking told her to go do anything. You just go, oh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then she offs herself. That was a
Yes.
story, by the way. I had to help
Yes.
that girl process all those bad feelings that she had because she never told her what to do.
Right. Right. I mean, man, you're awesome. I'm getting a teaching moment here. I feel like I'm getting free consultation here. I bet you everybody else out there does. That's why I love listening to you, man. I'm all wound up. I don't know what to do with myself now. I probably have to run around the block about 20 times, or something.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's how you got to approach life. And my dad always used to tell me no one ever said it's going to be easy, but it can be done. And it's a matter of how bad do you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, those are those hardcore lessons learned. And, I umpire, so I get to see the good, bad, and the ugly of parenting. You brought up parenting. When I see these dads like chastise and ridicule a kid for striking out, I'm like, my goodness, he's 12, he's 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do you think he went up there? Hey, Dad, I want to strike out. No, hell no, he didn't. But, it happens. But you learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell the guy the next time he comes up, I said, hey, man, just relax, have fun with the process. Yeah. They'll look back at me like, that guy's crazy, and then they're like, no, they'll get a hit or something. Then they'll look at me and say, hey, man, there must be something he's trying to tell me. So it's about your approach. Lighten up. You're too tense.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us just need to kick back and say, okay, let's take a step back and, let's move forward. And I guess that's where I'm going with what's taking place in the world today. I'm not heartless. I know people are hurting, Chris, and I get it. And I know people need help and, they need work. And I understand all that. But things are going to change and are changing, and you're not going to go back to what it was. And that's what's hard for me when I talk to people. They think they're going back. There's nothing to go back to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a great point, Mark. Is so many people want to go back to what's comfortable, what's known. But this is life, and we only get like a minute second really to be here. I was sitting there. I wanted to do a video yesterday when I was at the beach because I picked up a whole handful of sand and I just started sifting through it. And I was like, this is like life. We're like this group of people that are on the planet right now. All of us, we're like this group of sand, and just we all die off, and then a new group comes along, and a new group comes along. We're here for like a nanosecond. So to your point about worrying about what people think, I've never met a person on their deathbed. I've never met a person over 70 years old who really gave a shit what anybody else think. Like, man, if I didn't care about what people thought about me in the first 70 years of my life, I would be a totally different person now, because we do care about what all those different people think. For me, I care and I appreciate, but at the same time, I'm just going to be me. And that's been an experiment, because now that I've just been me and I'm on your show and I'm on all these other shows and people are attracted to me, and they're like, attracted to me from the standpoint of like, I'm just being who I am and I'm helping other people just be who they are and like they want to get out of being comfortably miserable. That's so amazing. It is so amazing, because literally I could have been, okay, I'm the no excuses coach and come out here and people went, what the fuck is that guy? Nope. no watchers, no viewers, nobody attaching that. I don't want to be a part of that, but people are just growing with it. And we're only here for a little bit of time. Why waste it? Why waste it? When you said, you can't do something, you're telling yourself you won't, because there's no real reason why you can't do anything anymore. I mean, sure, you're not going to be an NBA player if you're, the size of Kevin Hart, but at the same time, you could be something involved with basketball. I was just helping somebody the other day. They're like, I don't have the talent to do this. I'm like, in sports. And I said, well, maybe you could take it into sports nutrition and sports medicine or sports coaching.
Right.
You could still be affiliated with it.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry. I get super jacked up just about.
No, you are, man. It's all good. And, you're helping a lot of people right now. You don't even realize it, but somebody's out there listening to you. So, and here's someone said, Chris, rest thing, not going back. Thank you. Okay. So, that's from Glenda.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
She's basically saying she's not going back. You have to keep going forward. You have to find out. You shouldn't find what the new normal is. You should find what the new exciting is. When you wake up every day and you're excited about what it is you get to do, that's the pinnacle of being alive. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like, I'm excited to get up and make tamales for somebody. I'm excited, to take care of my son. I'm excited to do something. But so many people wake up and what is their first words in the morning? Oh, fuck. I'm like, what do you think your day is going to be like? You have to you have to get out of your comfort zone.
I'm like, hey man, it's going to be a great day. I'm up. I'm here, because some of the guys I know, some of them aren't here anymore, Chris. Mm-hmm. So my perspective, when I get up in the morning, I'm like, yeah, man, another day. Okay. I'm ready to roll with it, because people will tease me and they'll say, Gasser, you think this is funny, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I do. And that's what I dig. I dig like difference of opinions and engagement. I said, I think that's fun. And they're like, man, you're sick, but it's not. That's how you learn from one another, and I like differences. And of course, I can't get into that too much with my wife. She being Greek, she'll keep me grounded. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I teach this thing. It's called, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? So with wives, sometimes in personal relationships, sometimes we have to say, I'd rather be right than happy. And I've helped quite a few people stay married and stay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just from that.
Absolutely. I've learned to like pick my battles, like my son one time meant to help me and he said, hey, take it easy on the guy. And I looked at him, this is the one that's going to get married. And I looked at him, I said, I don't need your help, but thank you. And she said, hey, you need to stay out of it. And I'm like, hey, don't let it go. Because see, now you got him on your side.
Right.
I'm outnumbered. I'm the only woman in the family. I'm teasing. I'm digressing a little bit. But Chris, I just want to say thank you really for being here tonight and sharing with us not only your story, but your truth, your wisdom, your insight. I mean, you're the type of guy, if I know people looking for a coach, man, I mean, you'd be the guy I would tell them, you need to go check him out. I don't care how high up the food chain they are professionally, whether they're a professional athlete, CEO, they need to come see you because you definitely have a gift. You've worked at your craft and, you have an audience, you have a platform. And there's no doubt in my mind, there will be something named after you one day. I hope I'm around to see it. I don't know if I will be, but,
yeah.
But I just want to say thank you very much.
You are welcome.
And to all my other listeners out there and those that came over that follow you, thank you for being on Mark's Message. I'm going to say this. It is Peachtree Corners is the peachiest place on the planet. I swear to you it is. Sometime you have to come out here. It's 25 miles north of Atlanta, but it's really a cool place to live. And like I tell everybody, and I'm sure I'm going to kind of emulate what Chris has talked about here, but, be a leader, be a friend, be a service. And most important of all, I kiddingly say this on my Mark's Message, take your approach into the batter's box and keep swinging for the fences. I'm sure you'll agree with this, Chris, because together you and I will knock it out of the park. I want to thank everybody. Chris, don't go anywhere. Stay put. I'm going to sign off here, and I got some other things to do. But thanks, everybody. You've been great.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you the next go around. Thanks, Chris.